Plastic model builders, welcome back to some more model making madness. What we have here is what we did in our last video. We did the cockpit. If you didn't see that video, go back, check it out. Remember, subscribe, that way you can see our latest videos when they come out. So here's that cockpit right there. This is picking up on this video right here. We're just putting a little bit of a dark ghost gray right there inside of the two halves of the fuselage. So those will be mated. We're going to set those aside to dry, and we are now doing that front cockpit that we assembled in the last video. You see us getting the wheel wells. We're putting a little bit of primer on some of these parts here, that way we can attach those. So these go gloss white, and I like to put a little bit of primer on those because I feel it gives that gloss a nice coat to stick onto rather than just bare plastic. So we're getting all these. Basically, this video covers a lot of the parts that we have to use. Basically, it's a lot of prep work going into this video. You have to paint all the gear and all that stuff and all the internal parts, and just getting these prepared ahead of time for the landing gear. That way, when it comes time to doing this stuff, all we have to do is just attach everything. So you see we're getting a bunch of the landing gear right here. We got some a couple seconds ago. A lot of parts for this landing gear actually, so that's why it takes so long. Got some of our antenna right there. This is the front landing gear. So we are going to spray some of that, and here we go. Spraying some real paint here, a little bit of ghost gray on this. I don't know why I did this yet. I could have waited, but we're going to put some gloss white onto this right here, and this is the actual landing gear pieces. Going to do a little bit more primer right here, and this is for the engines. So here goes the gloss white. I'm sorry, I told you we were doing the gloss white before, but that was still primer. So this is the actual gloss white color. We are doing the inside of this. This is attached to the cockpit. The way this is designed, they're kind of like one piece for this model. So we are getting the front landing gear here, painting that a nice gloss white color. Make it look pretty. Like I said, this is some model making madness, so you know what you have to do. Make everything look pretty and get her done. Here we go. This is some more of the front landing gear right here. Some more of the landing gear. It never stops. It's just a lot of pieces, like I said, for this landing gear. So believe it or not, I've actually found better ways to paint some of these parts now because, you know, I'm no expert. We got our antenna, and we had some bombs and missiles and things like that, and other things that we had to do for this model. So you see here, these are the rear gear right here, so we're going to get those. And after that, we're going to do another coat of gloss white right here inside of the cockpit area. And there's the front gear right there. I waited till assemble all these. I'm not, you know, some of these planes, it's just finding which order works best for you. And this is how I felt was the easiest way to do it. Just get everything painted, then break it off with the sprue trees, and then basically attach it. Right here you could see we're painting some more of those parts over there. And these are the final coats that we're putting onto this gloss white for all these landing gear. So now we got to prepare for the assembly, of course, which, as you know, means scraping away a bunch of paint, because this is how I did my model. So if you do yours differently and attach everything ahead of time, then paint it, you might not have to go through this step, and you can skip it completely and just get it all out of the way. So here we are scraping off those little half circles, and that's where we are going to put the front landing gear right in here. Won't be too much longer now. Just have to make sure you get everything good and all the paint is off. That way our plastic can stick with our cement. That way no paint bonds to it and we get a good bond. Some of these pieces were fairly little, and you have to be careful that you don't break anything, especially when you're putting on these little parts here. So widen that little hole just a little bit to make it easier. You see right here this one small little piece. Being very careful, scraping away some of the paint off of that. No real easy way to do this, unless I just don't know how, which, hey, that might be possible. Scraping the paint off of this surface here, that you can see the actual wheel well there. This is going to mount to those inside of the fuselage, of course. So, got a toothpick here, a little bit of plastic cement. Don't want to use too much, as I have a habit of doing. So we're putting all this on there, and you saw that one area I had to put on a little bit of glue first. That way we can pop this into the wheel well, and then we can mate it with the retractable door right there. So there we go, just pops right into place. You may want to hold it just a little bit. You see right there, top of the screen, we're going to be putting in some more pieces, and you see it meets up right here with the front of the landing gear. So I put it on there, and then I kind of just rotated it into place, and then I pushed that down into that little slot. Might have to touch up a little bit there, but you know, that's okay. So here, scraping away some of that gray color that we painted on. Like I said, it's almost virtually identical to the model, the plastic itself. So you got to scrape that away. Pay attention here, that way you can kind of see where all these scrapes need to go, where we need to get all the paint out. That way we can put this cockpit and the landing gear in all in one shot. Makes it a lot easier if you know where things go, especially ahead of time. That way you can kind of see, oh well, I thought it went here, but it really doesn't. So just pay attention, because you'll see me scraping some parts here, and I show you all the mess ups that I do. That way you know not to do them. And that's part of the purpose of these videos. It might not be the best modeler in the world, but you know what? I try, and that's all that really matters. So here we are, putting our glue on, our little cement. Go all the way around this little area right here, because that's where the landing gear goes. We're going to put some right here at the bottom. Now pay attention here, because the glue doesn't actually need to go in all these places that I'm doing it. So this is key here, like right there. It doesn't really need to go there, because as you can see, I put the glue there, but that's not where it mounts. So you know, part of these models are just kind of figuring it out, what goes where, what doesn't go where, because you know, sometimes you're not exactly sure what gets covered and what doesn't. I guess prep would help take care of that. So you see right here, maybe even paint a couple lines, that way you know where to put the glue. So there we go. We got the fuselage in right there on the cockpit, and we're going to put the other half of the fuselage together. By the way, a lot of that I did set so it could dry, and you're looking at like a little bit later on, just so you know. It's not like I glued all these together in one shot. Sometimes you got to make things sit, that way you see if they line up properly. So just go all the way around here. You know, sometimes I like that technique where I get the glue all the way out and I squeeze it through. That way it actually melts the plastic together. Not everyone does it that way. It's kind of just something I do, and I like it. It came in handy with the recessed panel lines on this plane too. So guess what? Halfway through this video, I am very proud of you for making it through this long. This is one of the shorter videos. I'm going to try and reduce the time of them, because you know, I love when you watch the whole video. You know, it's good for me, it's good for you. We get to see the whole thing. We're putting in that little piece right there. Just be very careful with it. That's part of the front landing gear. You can make that come out. It all depends on how you want your model to appear. If it's like about to land, whatever diorama you use, if you make a diorama. So I don't do those, but maybe in the future. So that piece has to go down, because that's just the way it works. So here we go. These are the intakes. So we got to cut out the intakes, cut out the turbines that you see there, because they go on the inside. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. The way this was molded was not the greatest, because you had to cut it out really carefully in certain spots from the sprue. And we're just kind of prepping and preparing here. That way we can put some stuff together and we can see where everything goes on the inside. So you see how long these are. Right there, trying to cut there. Not good being so long, because it broke apart. Maybe using a hobby knife to score it, or a saw might be better than using these snips, although the snips are usually great for small sections. I didn't feel it did too well for this. So check that and make it look a little bit better. Here we are, just doing a little test fit. You know, it's always good to see how things fit together. Alright, so these are the intakes. We're going to glue those together. Make sure you scrape any flashing away from them. Make sure you have a good fit before you do this. We did that already, and you see how easily they fit together. They've got these little marks and pins that stick out of them, so you know where to stick those inside of the plane so they don't wander around either. So here's the second one. We did that, and after we get this one done, we are going to put in those turbines. And by the way, those turbines, I think I painted them, and then we painted them again. I honestly, I don't remember. Here, you had to do a little bit of sanding for those gaps. If you don't want to leave any gaps, do it however you want. You see me pressing that in. Use super glue this time. Just very thin stuff. And I basically just put the super glue in and let it run down. here we are taking off our rubber bands that we put on. If you remember, we did that not too long ago. You see how everything looks perfect. So here, got a little bit of drill bit going on because we have to drill in for some of the parts, the antennas, radars, radons, whatever the heck you want to call them, little things that go on this airplane. So you got to drill out the holes. There's two different sizes, a large one and a small one. So as you can see, I'm doing the larger ones first, and then we're going to switch a drill bit and go to a smaller one. Sometimes it's good to get both sides of this, that way you clear any of that plastic out and it looks good. How good? You want it to look pretty. Alright, so we're going to put in the air intake. We've got about 4 minutes left. Again, thanks for watching. So here we go, putting in the air intake. Each one can only go in the correct spot. It's not hard to reverse this, so don't worry about that. Just put a little glue there, that way we have this base sticking in nice and clean. So we'll put those in. There you go. They go in fairly easily. You can see what they look like right there. Now this is the gun. It goes flying off. Boom, there it went. So put it in right there. I didn't bother painting this because I figured didn't want to get anything in there while I was painting everything else. So we're just going to go in and touch that up later on. Once that dries, you can put your fuselage halves together. So you can see how I'm going and avoiding the wing area. That's because the wings do not get done yet, so you don't want to do that. It's basically just the top portion. You want to get a bunch of rubber bands or maybe some clamps. I don't care how you do this. That way this stays together however you want to do it. It's all up to you. So go around all the edges right here along the tail, and then right here, and then we're just going to get the other side right there at the front of the fuselage. Just being careful. Here we go, and this is the bottom, and we are going to turn it around and put this on right like so. Just make sure we got enough glue on there, and watch the placement for this. It is certainly key. Here we go. This is the bottom going on right there. I thought I said maybe that was the top, but I don't remember. Either way, you can see it was the bottom because it definitely has landing gear in there. So make sure everything is pressed firm. Yes, those do stick out like that. Try to clothespin. Didn't work too well. Rubber bands definitely did, the way you have to get them on. It's a tight fit, but you want it to hold securely. So I did that right there. Then I carefully got one over on this. Be careful how you do it. Had a couple of them just in different positions to hold on to this airplane. So you see I got two there and then one up higher a little bit. So you got this little cover here. I don't know why they didn't just mold it. Maybe they intended something else to go there. It's a mystery to me. Either way, we did that, and you see it's got a little bit of primer on there, so that's why I made that. While we let all this dry, it's a good idea, we can work on our missiles. Got some sidewinders. It's got 4 sidewinder missiles and 2 fuel tanks on this bad boy. So cut those off. You can make them look pretty if you want to, and if not, it's up to you. Place each little fin inside of these, and you'll see what they look like here. There you go. Try to get them as square as possible. I'm human, not perfect. Here are the fuel tanks. Go all the way around the edges of these. Just avoid those little box areas where we stick the pins. And you can press this together, let it dry, sand it, do whatever you want to do afterwards. Just get it prepared for painting. So we've got about a minute left. We're going to take off these rubber bands so you can show you what's going on. By the time we get to the next video, remember, subscribe. That way you can get the latest video updates. We are going to be putting the fuselage halves together. Technically they're already together, and we're going to work on the wings as well. So here we are, we're detaching these wings, and you'll probably see this. This is a little bit of a preview right here. Detach them, that way we can prepare them and put them on. I especially want to thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, and like. Until next time, see ya.